This week's guest on Turning Point with Frank MacKay is Dr. Ian Smith. Does your New Year's resolution include taking off those holiday pounds? Are you interested in learning the secrets to great health? Then stay tuned for Frank MacKay's interview with the best-selling author of The Fat Smash Diet, Extreme Fat Smash Diet, The 4-Day Diet, and Happy. In this interview on Turning Point with Frank MacKay, Dr. Smith talks about his brand new book, Shred, and the best way to lose weight and enjoy good health.
And now, Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
Welcome to Turning Point. Our very special guest today is author, Dr. Ian Smith. Welcome, Doctor.
Frank, I'm glad to be with you today.
You've gotten so much notoriety around the country, I guess around the world, and really, I think you struck on something here that a lot of people are feeling. And the name of the book, by the way, is The Shred Revolution. Am I right?
Yes, it's called Shred, the Revolutionary Diet.
Okay, and it's about to be released as we speak, and already you have all kinds of feedback, on the preliminary suggestion of it. Just give us an overview of the book.
Sure. Well, let me kind of back up for a second, Frank. This is my 10th book, and I've written several diet books in the past. This diet book is by accident, to be honest with you. I had not planned on publishing this book. I had written this book a long time ago, and I'd written it for a personal friend. So when they got in trouble trying to lose weight, I would email them what I call this special diet, and this special diet would help them shred the fat, which is why we called it Shred. But I never had planned on publishing it for wide release. Well, a few months ago, I decided to send my followers on Twitter, I decided to send them a 3-day detox, and I used material from this special diet that I kept under wraps to do it with, and people were losing 4 pounds in 3 days. And after they were losing the weight, they were saying, "Can you give me more? Can you give me more?" And so I started tweeting and Facebooking different parts of the Shred diet, and the results were absolutely outrageous. I was surprised myself, even having written the diet, how successful it was. And so what happened was I got over 5,000 people through this time to go on the Shred diet, and it has been absolutely amazing. And the book is a 6-week cycle program, and what it does is each week is independent of another, and each week actually has a situation in which you are able to see the results very rapidly. The average weight loss is 3 pounds each week. Each meal is spelled out for you in detail for 6 weeks. You're allowed to have 4 meals and 3 snacks each day. And the biggest complaint about the program is that there's so much food on it. Wow.
Well, that's a nice complaint to have.
And, it is for diet.
And what's the survey on it? And in other words, how long a trial run did you use this diet for?
Yes. So these 5,000 people have been on since the summer. So for many, many months, the average weight loss in 6 weeks each, the diet works in cycles, 6-week cycles. The average weight loss in 6 weeks has been 20 pounds. And those who don't need to lose 20 pounds, there's also, weight loss is just not about the numbers on the scale. People have also lost 2 sizes and 4 inches on average. So we've had a pretty extensive run as far as the number of people on it and the length of time they've been on it to see these really good results.
Our special guest is Dr. Ian Smith, and he's talking about his brand new book. Give us the name of the book again and where people should be looking out for it.
Sure. The book is called Shred, S-H-R-E-D, The Revolutionary Diet. It's available in bookstores everywhere or anywhere online like Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. And the book really is, the reason why this book is so different than my other diet books, Frank, is because this book really compiles all of the best weight loss strategies I've talked about in the past in my research, and it compiles them all and puts them all in the same place. And that's what's been so good about this book. And people have had a tremendous time because they tell me all the time, they say, listen, this book is easy, it's accessible, the food is regular food, so you don't have to buy special gourmet food. It's inexpensive. And the biggest compliment I get from people is they say they don't feel like they're on a diet, which is the whole purpose of the program. I don't want people to feel like they're losing weight just for the short term. This is about making a lifestyle change so you eat better, drink better, and have a good time with food, but for the rest of your life. And, by the way, you're not only eating diet, quote-unquote diet food. You can have pizza on this diet. You can have steak. You can have grilled cheese, pancakes. But I teach you in the program how to eat those foods in a balanced way so it still helps you lose weight.
Well, it sounds like a lot of people are going to be attracted to it. You've been able to get your word out there and your name out there. Let's go into a little bit of your history. Can you tell us when you started getting into this field? And actually, maybe clarify, too, what type of doctor you are. What's your specialty?
Sure. My specialty by training is physical medicine, which is basically physical rehab. I got into diet and nutrition not by design. I should be actually operating as an orthopedic surgeon. But when I was a columnist several years ago for Time magazine, the readers of the column, the number one question, the number one issue that they asked was about weight loss and supplements and fat burners. And even being a trained physician, I had no idea about nutrition because doctors in medical school are not really educated in the ways of nutrition and weight loss. So I basically had to teach myself. I went to the bookstore and bought huge, thick textbooks on food and nutrition because I felt like in order to do my readers a real service, because they wanted to know these answers, that I needed to know myself these answers so I can impart them to the readers. And that's how I really got started in weight loss and nutrition. It was really by accident. And what happened was one thing led to the next, and I got contacted by publishers asking me, would I be willing to write books, and would I write books about whatever I wanted? And I said, well, I want to write books about weight loss because I think that there's so many untruths about weight loss and there's so many people struggling with weight loss. I wanted to write a book about how people can lose weight in a realistic way that doesn't overpromise and underdeliver, but gives people the honest way and a healthy way to lose weight, but to lose it for the long term.
We're speaking with Dr. Smith, the author of A Revolutionary Diet. It sounds like it's going to be an absolute winner. It's already working, so it's already a winner. It's just the book, I'm sure, is going to skyrocket. Let me go back to something you said, that when you were in medical school, you felt you weren't taught all that much about nutrition. Do you think the medical field and the medical schools are catching up a little bit more now?
Yes, they are doing a better job of teaching nutrition related sciences. They're still not where they need to be because if you look at the country suffers from an obesity epidemic. The country also suffers from a diabetes epidemic. And there is a real correlation between how much weight we've gained over the last 30 years and the rise of diabetes. So it's important for physicians to understand not only how to diagnose diabetes or high cholesterol levels, but also how to treat them without medication. And one way to do that is understanding how food plays a part in all these different disease processes. And so I think that the medical schools are catching up, but I still think there's more ground to cover.
Obviously, obesity is in all levels of the society and economic areas. Do you find it's more prevalent in, say, richer or more affluent areas, or the reverse, in poverty-stricken areas?
Well, it's interesting. Surveys show that obesity is kind of endemic in all different factors. What we do know is that areas that tend to be more impoverished and have less degrees of education, there tend to be slightly higher rates of obesity. But it is still, an equal opportunist. It affects rich people, white people, black people, Asian, Hispanic, young, old. Which is the sad part of obesity, is that we're now seeing our youth. This is the first time ever in the history of this great country that we've predicted that our youth, our children, will not outlive their parents' generation. That is terrible, meaning outlive them, meaning years, how long they'll live.
Right.
That's a black stain on this country's health practices, and we're trying to turn that around by getting our kids to move better and getting them to eat better. And with SHRED, this new program, it's not designed just for adults. It's really designed for families because the meals and the foods that are available on the program can be eaten by everyone. In the program,
what's highlighted? With Atkins diet, obviously it was protein first and high protein, low carb. Is there something you could sum up without giving away the whole premise of the book? But is there
sure. Two things are highlighted. One is called meal spacing. That is, the book gets into why and how you need to eat every 3 to 4 hours throughout the day. So meal spacing is one thing that's critical. It keeps your hormone levels even, particularly your insulin levels, which play a big role in weight gain. The second thing is something that I've termed diet confusion. And it's similar to what they talk about in weightlifting and exercise, something called muscle confusion, where you have to change your workout when you hit a plateau. Well, the same thing with diet confusion. You have to change what you eat, how you eat it, and the amount that you eat in order to keep that weight loss going. Because once you plateau, your body is saying, listen, I've already done this. I've lost enough weight. I don't want to lose anymore. So the question becomes, how do you restart that weight loss? And you do it through the concept that I think works, which is called diet confusion, which varies the food you eat not only within the day, but it varies the food you eat between the days. So you're eating all different types of food, and you never get tired of eating the same thing.
Turning Point with Frank MacKay returns right after this. Welcome back to Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
We're talking about the Shred, the revolutionary diet, and the book that's about to be released. And Dr. Ian Smith, its author and physician, is here with us. Dr. Smith, have you ever had a weight problem yourself?
I've never had a weight problem. I've been an athlete all my life, actually. So I was lucky, and not because I knew that having a weight problem was a bad thing for health, because I really wasn't thinking about health when I started doing healthy things. I was doing it because I wanted peak performance as an athlete. So I was lucky that as a young athlete, those kinds of discipline about watching my weight and my fitness level were already ingrained in me, which is why I think it's so important for kids these days to be involved in extracurricular activities, to be outside running, playing in sports, even if it's not to become world-class champions, but participating in physical activity is so critical to our youth. And then that, of course, carried over into my adulthood. By the time I became an adult, I was already accustomed to exercising, to making sure that I didn't eat too many calories, watching what I eat. And so the more I even learned about the importance of nutrition, the better I got.
How many books do you have out?
Well, this is my 10th book. Most of them have been about weight loss, but I've also written a novel called The Blackbird Papers, which is a murder mystery. I love murder mysteries. And I wrote a book about happiness. That is, what is the real science behind happiness, and how can all of us find happiness? And that book is called Happy, Simple Steps to Get the Most Out of Life.
Are they all out of the same publisher?
Two different publishers. This publisher, who's published most of my books, is called St. Martin's Press.
Sure.
But the other publishers were part of the Random House group.
How do you like the process of writing? And then a follow-up to that is, how do you like the promotional aspect?
I love writing. Writing to me is therapeutic. It's meditative. It's exciting. Some writers who write talk about how laborious it is, how hard it is. But for me, writing is natural. I've been writing since I was in college. I've been typing since I was in high school. One of the best courses I ever took, even though I'm a doctor, and my whole life was typing, believe it or not. I didn't think so at the time as a high school student, boy, but typing was phenomenal. And I'll never forget Mrs. Corpassi. That was her name, my teacher. She made us type, and being the competitive person that I am, if I had to take this class, I wanted to be the best at it. So I became a great typist. So it's helped me because I don't have to write longhand. My ideas can flow from my head right into the computer, and I type very quickly. I love writing. Writing is a great career, and it's a great way to express yourself. And if you can do it, and you don't have to do it to become a best-selling author, people should write because it's a great way to form ideas and to imagine and to transport yourself out of your current situation into other situations.
Dr. Ian Smith is our special guest. I was going to ask you about your process. You kind of touched on it a bit, but are you the type that carries around a digital tape recorder with you, or are you a notebook person? What's your process?
It's interesting. I'm always writing, always. Like in my mind, I have 10 books going on at once. I'll see a headline. I'll see something happen, in the street. I just passed by the fire guys. The firemen were practicing putting out fires in a patch of grass near my house. That would be a great way to open up a mystery. They find maybe something in that field. So I'm always writing in my head, and then what I'll do very occasionally is I'll write down thoughts. I'll write down titles. Sometimes I'll see titles of a book. So for me, writing is a never-ending process, and I am stimulated and encouraged by the things that I observe as well as the things that I imagine. And so for me, it's nonstop. I don't carry a tape recorder, but I do write a lot in my computer, or I really write on my phone. Now with all these smartphones, I just pull up the word processing program and I'll write notes to myself.
Dr. Ian Smith is our guest today. He's the author of 10 books, and the newest one sounds fascinating on the diet end, and it sounds like an absolute winner. Do you have a website you want to plug people to or point people to?
Yeah, sure. People can come, and if they want information, I always give diet tips out for free. My website is Dr. Ian Smith. That's spelled the doctor, I-A-N Smith. And my Twitter handle to follow me on Twitter is at Dr. Ian Smith. Spell the doctor out once again. And people tweet me all the time, and I tweet back nutritional advice, weight loss advice. All of it's free.
The other part of the process, Doctor, is the promotional aspect. How do you? Well, it looks like you enjoy it. You do quite a bit of it, and you do it very well. Do you like the promotion, the marketing part of the authorship?
Well, unfortunately, the word promotion has kind of a negative connotation. I don't call it promotion. I call it, explaining and expressing. And, you don't want to work on something for a long time like writers do and not be able to tell people about it. So I enjoy being able to explain to people what the work is. I don't get excited because I'm going to be on a big show like Dr. Oz or Oprah or a big, I don't get excited by the lights. I get excited by the opportunity to talk to a lot of people because in my experience as a physician, I know that so many people suffer and struggle from these particular ailments related to being overweight, and a lot of them need some inspiration. And sometimes, and I know it's happened, sometimes people will see me on a television screen or hear my voice on a radio program like this, and it will be just what they needed to be able to say that today is the day they're going to change their life and begin their transformation. So I enjoy the promotion because by promoting, you're able to reach people and talk to people, and it's the closest I can come to touching people to let them know that, hey, listen, I know this is a tough journey to lose weight, but others have done it. You can do it too, and I'm here to help you.
Well, I certainly I applaud that, and I would echo that by saying that when you have a book the way you have this, and you have a process like this, you're confident in it, and certainly I'm confident in the 5,000 people that are already following the process are confident that it's going to help people by spreading awareness of something like a diet book or something in the self-help field. You're really reaching a different area there. It's not like you just have a novel and you're saying, hey, check out how great my story is here. You're promoting something, and I don't think it's a bad word, promoting, but you're making people aware of something that can be very helpful to them and to their kids, something that can make them live longer. So I certainly applaud the work you're doing here, and everything I've ever heard about you and everything I've seen you say has just been absolutely right on, and I think the sincerity comes out in this, and I think you want to help people, and quite frankly, I think you're you're onto something here. Again, give us the title of the book. And I urge everyone to go out and get it right away and order it and listen to it if you're listening to it.
The book is called Shred, S-H-R-E-D, The Revolutionary Diet. And let me just comment on what you just said, Frank. If you could read some of the emails that I read from, we call them shredders, from shredders across the country who have been doing this program, people saying that they've tried diets for the last 20 years and nothing has worked and they've given up and we're going to do surgery. And now they're down 40 pounds on Shred. One lady who I haven't met these people. These people are all online or through Twitter who've been on the program. One lady is a 53-year-old grandmother and was a diabetic and hypertensive. And she's off her medications because now she's dropped 35 pounds. So, this is real. I mean, there are people, Frank, out there really struggling who are really looking for an answer. Am I saying my program is the only program? Absolutely not. Am I saying my program is the answer for everyone? Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that in my experience as a physician and as a diet expert and based on what I've already read from those who have been on the program, this is a program that is going to transform and revolutionize people tremendously.
Dr. Smith, do you see any scenario where you would recommend an operation or surgery in the case of like severe obesity?
Absolutely. I believe that there is a place for surgery. I believe that surgery should be used when people are suffering from chronic illnesses related to being overweight, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. When you show that you have these diseases as relating to being overweight, and you've also tried to lose weight seriously, not just said you try to lose weight, but you've demonstrated you try to lose weight, and you're still unable to do it, and your illnesses are at acute stage of causing some severe injury, I believe weight loss surgery is an option. Here's my caveat, however. Weight loss surgery is not an end. It is a means to an end. And too many people, because I get the emails from them, too many people get the surgery thinking that it's going to solve all their problems, and what they do not realize is that you still must modify your behavior. You still must eat better. You still must exercise in order for that weight loss surgery to be successful. There are people who have had surgery and gained all that weight back because they never changed the cause of their problems. And so that's the caveat I give people. It can help you for sure, but you have to be the right person and you still have to change your behaviors.
Turning Point with Frank MacKay returns right after this. Welcome back to Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
Dr. Ian Smith is our guest. And Doctor, before I ask you what the turning point in your life was, let me just follow up on that. You mentioned the weight loss surgeries. If you're going to put them in a nutshell, in other words, how many there are, the most popular ones, we're talking about the belt or liposuction, or what would you list as weight loss surgeries?
Well, liposuction, I'm glad you mentioned it. Liposuction is not a weight loss surgery. Liposuction is a cosmetic surgery, but people think that it's a weight loss surgery. The purpose of liposuction really is to sculpt your body and to get rid of small, not large, small pockets of fat that have been resistant to other means of getting rid of them. That's liposuction, cosmetic. Now, you talk about gastric bypass, which is a major surgery which deals with really reconfiguring your anatomy, or there's lap band, which actually does what it says. It takes a band and it puts it around a certain part of your abdomen and it makes your stomach smaller. So, banding surgery and the bypass surgery are the two major bariatric or weight loss surgeries available. There are different reasons why you will have one and the other. Obviously, you have less side effects, less intervention when you do the banding versus doing the gastric bypass, which really is a very invasive and sometimes complicated procedure.
For years, we heard about bulimia and anorexia and how epidemic it was. Is the awareness or the programs that the schools are instituting about the awareness of these horrible situations, are they making any progress? Is there a lesser chance that a young lady or a young man, for that matter, in junior high school is going to be anorexic or bulimia now than it was, say, 15 years ago?
Hard to say, Frank, to be honest with you. I mean, yes, I think that we're making some headway as far as it's getting attention and we're talking about it and we're not there's not a stigma like it used to be. I mean, these are the kind of conversations that you only held behind closed doors and people didn't want to really talk about it. So from the standpoint that we are raising awareness about it and openness and saying it's okay to talk about it, huge progress. Whether or not it's directly had an impact on the number of cases of anorexia or bulimia over the last 10 to 15 years is really hard to say. I would posit a guess that many people who probably would have gone into those particular conditions, either anorexia or bulimia, many of them have probably been prevented from doing so because the dialogue has been so open and so available.
Dr. Ian Smith, author and physician, has had such an incredible career. I'm going to ask you, Doctor, what was the turning point in your life, or if you prefer, what was the turning point in your career?
I had a very serious turning point when I was living in New York City, and I had been very quasi-successful as a journalist, had made a decent amount of money, and I'd spent all my money, spent it all, and I didn't know where I was going to get money from. I was in between jobs, had not had another job on the horizon. I had bills to pay. I had my rent to pay, basically, and I was in trouble, to be very honest with you. And I'll never forget, I was at wit's end about what I was going to do. It was the middle of the day. I went into my bedroom. I closed my blinds and made it as dark as possible. I got on my knees, and I prayed to God that if he could find it in his heart to help me get out of the financial situation that I was in, that I would never squander money again, and I would never allow myself through recklessness to be in that kind of financial vulnerability. And Frank, I got to tell you, within 2 weeks, I got a check for $25,000. And that check came from Germany, from a publisher who published a book that I didn't even know they had bought of mine. And they sent me a royalty check for $25,000.
Wow. That is something.
Turned my life around because it made me realize the mistakes of my past. I learned my lesson, and I made a promise to God that I would never go back in that situation. And since that day, I've lived my life in that way.
And you've made a lot of progress since. It's an amazing story, an amazing turning point. Let's in closing talk about the book again. Again, for those who are just tuning in now, can you just give us a closing summary of the book?
If you are someone who has had struggles losing weight, or you've never tried a diet before, or you feel like you can't find an answer, the new book, Shred, The Revolutionary Diet, is a program that really, honestly and truly, offers you a way to lose weight in a sensible time, in a sensible way without the expense. Everyone doesn't have access to a gym. Everyone can't afford gourmet food. Shred is a way to do it with regular food. Shred also is a way to change the way you think about your relationship to food and exercise. And the reason why I love the book and the program is because the purpose of it really is to get people to make lifestyle changes, not just lose weight for the short term. Yes, it's a 6-week cycle program. Yes, every meal is nicely detailed for you. The book has more than 50 recipes, more than 200 snacks that you can read about. And yes, people will be able to lose 20 pounds on average in 6 weeks. But more importantly, Frank, this book is about revolutionizing the way you think and the way you treat your body. And so if people want to just try a free sample, they can do that too on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Shredder, 2D, Shredder Nation. We offer the first week because my interest is not trying to sell books to people who can't use it or can't make sense of it. My interest is to give you a plan as long as the plan makes sense to you. And so take the first week free and see how you do on it, see if you like it, and then buy the book. But this is a book, Frank, that has worked, has amazed me in its results, and I'm grateful that I've been able to impart this information to so many people.
Dr. Ian Smith, one more time, the website you gave earlier?
Sure. The website you can reach me on is driansmith.com, spell out the doctor, or you can tweet me on Twitter at Dr. Ian Smith, also spell out doctor.
Doctor, you've been very gracious with your time. Congratulations on another fine piece of work, and congratulations on what's a wonderful career. And it's going strong and a long way to go. Thanks for being our guest today.
Frank, you always say about the promotion, I always say at the end of an interview, if I can change one life through an interview, then my work is done.
Well, hopefully that's happening right here. And everyone go out and get this book. It's I will. I need it. I certainly need it, Doctor, and you've certainly got a fan in me at this point. Dr. Ian Smith has been our guest, and we thank all of you for tuning in. We'll see you next week on Turning Point.
Turning Point with Frank MacKay was produced by Out of the Box Studios in Bohemia, New York. Executive producers Frank MacKay, Harry Oates, and Bart Pellegrino. Director of Operations Corey Arnold. Segment producer and talent coordinator Kristen McKay. Audio and studio engineers Francis Kazmarek and Tom Shazana. Studio support Mark Harwood, Pete Galgano, Brian Hunt, Danielle Altabrando, Keith Withers, and Chris Lunar. Sound mixing and mastering Daniel Joseph. Hotel accommodations provided by Ohika Castle Hotel and Estate in Huntington, New York. Transportation services provided by Mark of Elegance Limousine in Hauppauge, New York. Catering services provided by Windows on the Lake in Ronkonkoma, New York.